keeps us healthy and happy as we go through life? If you were going to
What keeps
invest
us
now,
happy and healthy? 진짜 as we go through life. 공부 아니니까 뭐 해도 돼 다들? 너무 많은 거 아니니까 수업이 아니라.
your future best self, where what keeps us healthy and happy as we go through life? If you were going to invest now
If you're gonna invest now
in your future best self, where would you put your time?
in your future best self, we're gonna put your time
And your energy.
and energy.
There was a recent survey of millennials asking them
There's a recent survey of the on millennials.
what their most important life goals were.
What their most important life goals were. 진짜 이거.
And over 80% said that a major life goal for them
And over 80% of them said their major life goal for them
was to get rich.
was to get rich.
And another 50% of those same young adults said that another major life goal was to become famous.
And another 50% of those same young adults said that another major goal life goal was to become famous.
And we're constantly told to lean into work,
We're constantly told to lean into work,
push harder, and achieve more.
push harder and achieve more. Lean into work, lean into work. Actively accept challenges and seek more responsibilities, especially related to progress in your career. Achieve less. Young people lean in, move up the hierarchy. Well, if one more person tells me to lean in without getting into how it really feels, I'm gonna scream. Lean in.
We're given the impression that these are the things that we need to go after in order to have a good life.
We are given the impression that these are things that we need to do. We need to go after in order to have a good life.
Pictures of entire lives, of the choices that people make and how those choices work out for them.
And how those choices work out for them.
Those pictures are almost impossible to get. Most of what we know about human life, we know from asking people to remember the past.
We know from asking people to remember the past.
And as we know, hindsight is anything but 2020.
But as we know, hindsight is anything but 2020. Anything but 2020. Hindsight is anything but 2020. Hindsight is anything but 2020. This is going to sound because the opposite is true.
We forget vast amounts of what happens to us.
We forget vast amounts of what happens to us in life.
And sometimes memory is downright creative.
About human life, we know from asking people to remember the past, and as you know, hindsight is anything but 2020. This is saying which means that it's easy to know the right thing to do after something has happened. But it's hard to predict the future. Let me explain why this phrase has the meaning. First, the hindsight means thinking about things after they've happened. Yeah, this means you didn't think she was right in the past, but now that you think back on, and you realize that she was right. 2020 means perfect vision. Eye doctors measure people's vision using two numbers. If the first number is low, your vision is good. If it's high, you are unable to see well. I have 220 vision, so I really need to wear my glasses. But 2020 is the lowest score. That means that you are able to see perfectly. 2020 is pronounced 2020. So when you put those together, hindsight is 2020. Means when you can easily means that you can easily tell what you should have done in the past, but it's hard to decide what to do in the future. When people use this phrase, they usually want to express one of these ideas. You shouldn't worry about your past decision because you can't change them now. Don't criticize what I did because I made the best decision I could at the time. Hindsight is 2020. The right thing to do. Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is most of what we know about human life is we know from asking people people to remember the past, and as we know, hindsight is anything but 2020. Real English the way it is used in the real world. Learning single words and boring grammar paradigms teaches you to look for meaning phrases. When you study phrases, you learn both vocabulary and grammar at the same time. In each session, we introduce natural English sentences. Never. Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020. Vast amounts of what happens to us in life. Okay.
But what if we could watch entire lives?
But what we could watch entire lives
as they unfold through time.
As they unfold through time.
What if we could study people?
What if we could study people
from the time that they were teenagers all the way into old age?
From the time that they were teenagers all the way into their old age.
To see what really keeps people happy and healthy.
To see what really keeps people happy and healthy.
We did that.
The
Harvard study of adult development may be the longest study of adult life that's ever.
The Harvard study of adult life may be the longest study of adult life that's ever been done.
For 75 years, we've tracked the lives of 724 men.
For 750 years, we've tracked the lives of 724 men.
year after year, asking about their work, their home lives, their health.
Year after year, asking about the work, their home lives, their health,
And of course, asking all along the way without knowing how their life stories were going to turn out.
and asking along the way without knowing how their life stories are going to turn out.
Studies like this are exceedingly rare.
Studies like this are extremely rare.
Almost all projects of this kind fall apart within a decade.
Almost all kind of this project, almost all projects of this kind fall apart within a decade. Projects of this kind,
Because too many people drop out of the study,
because too many people drop out of the study,
or funding for the research dries up,
or funding for the research dries up,
or the researchers get distracted,
or the researchers get distracted,
or they die.
or they die.
Nobody moves the ball further down the field.
So nobody moves the ball down to the field. So nobody moves the ball further down the field. Moves the ball further down the field.
But through a combination of luck and the persistence of several generations of researchers,
But through a combination of luck and through a combination of work, luck, and the persistence of several generations of researchers,
this study has survived.
the study has survived.
About 60 of our original 724 men are still alive.
About 70%, about 70 of our original 724, our original are still alive,
Still participating in the study,
still participating in the study.
most of them in their 90s.
Most of them are in their 90s.
And we are now beginning to study the more than 2,000 children
And now we are beginning to study the more than 2,000 children.
of these men.
The more than 2,000 children of this man.
And I'm the fourth director of the study.
And I'm the fourth director of the study.
Since 1938, we've tracked the lives of two groups of men.
Since 1938, we've tracked the lives of two groups of men.
The first group started in the study when they were sophomores at Harvard College.
The first group started their study when they're sophomores at Harvard College.
They all finished college during World War II,
They all finished college during World War II.
and then most went off to serve in the war.
And most went off to serve in the war.
And the second group that we followed was a group of boys
And the second group we followed was a group of boys
from Boston's poorest neighborhoods.
from Boston's poorest neighborhoods.
Boys who were chosen for the study specifically because they were from some of the most troubled and disadvantaged families in the Boston of the 1930s.
Boys who were chosen for the study, specifically, boys who were chosen for the study, specifically because they were from some of the most troubled and disadvantaged families in the Boston of the 1930s.
Most lived in tenements.
Most in what? Tenements? Tenement, run down, often overcrowded apartment house, especially in a poor section of a large city. Tenement, and many without hot and cold running water.
Many without hot and cold running water. When they entered the study, all of these teenagers were interviewed, they were given medical exams.
When they entered the study, all of the teenagers were interviewed, they were given medical exams.
We went to their homes and we interviewed their parents.
We went to their homes, so we interviewed their parents.
And then these teenagers grew up into adults who entered all walks of life.
Who entered all walks of life.
They became factory workers and lawyers and bricklayers.
they became factory workers, lawyers, and bricklayers.
and doctors, one president of the United States.
One president of the United States.
Some developed alcoholism.
Some developed alcoholism.
A few developed schizophrenia.
A few developed schizophrenia.
Some climbed the social ladder from the bottom all the way to the very top.
Some climbed the social ladder from the bottom all the way to the top. Some climbed the social ladder from the bottom all the way to the top, to the very top.
And some made that journey in the opposite direction.
And some made the journey in the opposite direction.
The founders of this study would never in their wildest dreams have imagined that I would be standing here today.
Would never in their wildest dreams have imagined that I would be standing here today.
75 years later, telling you that the study still continues.
75 years later, saying that the study still continues, telling you that the study still continues in the wildest dream. C2 used to say that something is better than anything you could imagine or hope for. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that one day I would run a marathon. In my wildest dreams. If you say that you could not imagine a particular thing in my wildest dreams, you're emphasizing that your thinking is extremely strange and unlikely. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I could win. Hindsight is 20/20.
2 years, our patient and dedicated research staff calls up our men and
Every 2 years, our patient and dedicated researchers calls up our man.
asks them if we can send them yet one more set of questions about their lives.
And ask them if we can send them one more set of questions about their lives.
Many of the inner city Boston men ask us,
Many of the inner city Boston men ask us,
why do you keep wanting to study me? My life just isn't that interesting.
why do you want to keep studying my life that isn't that interesting? Why do you keep wanting to study me? My life isn't that interesting.
The Harvard men never ask that question.
The Harvard men never asked that question.
To get the clearest picture of these lives,
To get the clearest picture of life,
we don't just send them questionnaires.
we don't just send them questionnaires.
We interview them in their living rooms.
We interview them in their living room.
We get their medical records from their doctors.
We get their medical record from their doctors.
We draw their blood.
We what? Draw their bloods?
We scan their brains.
Scan their
We
brains.
talk to their children.
Talk to their children.
We videotape them talking with their wives
We videotape them talking with their wives
about their deepest concern.
about their deepest concerns. Videotape them.
And when about a decade ago we finally asked the wives if they would join us as members of the study,
And when about a decade, we finally asked the wives if they would like to join us as members of the study.
many of the women
Many of them said,
said, it's about time.
it's about time.
So what have we learned?
So what have we learned?